My experience on why the New Age is bad. Reiki asks us if we want things like more money, more luck, more help in certain aspects of life, all these special promises that most of which God gives us himself, but it basically denies the fact there is suffering in the world and makes us think that everything will come to us on a plate, and when it doesn't, we forget how God gives us so many blessings without any of this in the first place, just like a ridiculous amount of money or perfect health. Next is horoscopes, of which I've looked at for so long, but now looking, they segregate us, they make us feel like we are different from each other, and we obsess over what star sign another person is. We are overlooking of people's sins and our own sins because of what our star sign tells us about them. Oh, someone is outgoing, so maybe they can just be really nasty to us and ruin our God-given self-image, or deny our traits and drag down our traits just because they're a confident person, they're so-called outspoken. They are dangerous and they stop us from connecting to one another in a godlike sense, and it gives the devil more time and space to create more lies in our lives and take up more of our time and our energy and our resources, given to us by God, by the way. They also help us sideline our God-given attributes, like being kind, like being confident, and makes us kind of suppress those sides of ourselves. If our star sign does not tell us we are these things, we forget about attributes of ourselves that are not aligned with what we see in our star sign. God uses things that he puts in us for a reason, and just because it's not in your star sign doesn't mean it's not in your life path. Next is astrology, something again that I've looked at quite a lot in the past and even talked about on my videos, which now I renounce all that. It's bad because when you look at astrology, it makes so much sense. There's so much truth in what seems to be truth, or deception, which looks like truth, in how astrology comes across and what is in astrology. When you look at the research, the planets and the way that it's all talked about, but it is deception. It takes away from our actual life path that God gives us, and brings a level of fatalism to when there is actually suffering, because it blocks us from making decisions that will benefit us in our life, because it's just the alignment of the planets that are creating these problems. We just need to hang on and suffer longer for things that we should be renouncing and denouncing just because it's the alignment of the planets. I even fell into the deception that God made the planets and therefore astrology is okay. Witchcraft has a lot of problems, most of which are very, very deceptive. You're basically bringing bad spirits into your life, you're worshipping the devil, and you're worshipping things that the devil brings. You're asking the devil for strength, and the devil can't bring you strength, God brings you strength. And then when these things fall through, you lose faith, and eventually you end up in this pit, which I have done in the past, of fatalism for life, because all of what you wanted was not given to you because you were asking the wrong source. And finally, divination. We should not be communicating with spirits this way. It is very dangerous, and it is not something that God wants us to do. It can bring very bad things into life, and we should not be even trying to do this in the first place. I hope this helped. The last one I thought of was light workers and starseeds, of which I've literally done a whole video on. Again, I don't know whether I'm going to take these down or I'll just leave them up for reference, I'm not sure. But they basically give you an excuse to do bad things, allow other bad things in others. For example, if someone is a creative starseed, you overlook their abuse because they are brought to the earth to spread the gift of music to the world. God may give you a talent for music, or allow, or help you grow your gifts, because he's allowed that, and he's made you. We have free will, so we can do whatever we want technically, but there's not some special entity that brings with it an ability to do this. And if we start to believe this, we just overlook all the negative things that come with it, and it's really misleading. And even things like narcissistic abuse, thinking someone is bringing some form of light to the world as a light worker, to bring some form of conversational narcissism or something. It brings light to a situation, which, if they're charismatic or something, it's very misleading, and you're enabling a narcissistic person, which is known as a personality disorder. Not to mention the effects that narcissism has on a person that is actually attacked by narcissistic abuse. In addition, people that are considered spiritual or spiritually gifted are also feel very entitled to getting things they want, to unrealistic expectations of another person, because they feel extremely authoritarian in this, even to a level of godlikeness. If you feel that you have a spiritual gift, some people feel, and doesn't it sound very similar to someone which wants to recruit someone for a job that's sketchy? Doesn't this sound very similar to someone trying to recruit someone for a job that is bad, aka the devil, for naive people, or an older person or a more experienced manipulative person trying to deceive someone naive, saying, do you want to be a light worker, by which anyone can. This also is another idea when it talks about in the Bible, God, the devil comes to you as an angel of light, and it's not to say that God doesn't do amazing things, beyond amazing things and miracles in life, but we don't need to call ourselves light workers for this to be the case. Also, I just wanted to circle back again to witchcraft, specifically tarot videos. I kind of have been quite strong on tarot videos, especially when they're about relationships. This, if you look at it from a logical perspective, I've always told myself that I will watch these videos because they're logical, and because they are coming from a set of cards that were formed in the 1600s that have archetypes that make a lot of sense. But when these tarot readings are coming from past relationships, which often they are, when you go online and you search tarot readings, they're often about a past person in a relationship you've had, or a current person or a future person. They play logically on people's loneliness, and they play on people's heartbreak. And we should be bringing our heart to God and not to tarot readers to do this. It says it in the Bible, don't go to fortune tellers, because they'll be cut off from their people, and also and you just don't find truth in it. You can be hooked in for a long time, and these people, I'm not here to judge, but these people do get a lot of money from the videos that are posted by them, but at the same time you're prolonging your heartbreak. I found them in the past to be what I thought was, I kind of knew, in the back of my mind. I mean, I didn't know 100%, but I thought, I'm just going to let myself do this because it gives me time to deal with my emotions. But it's just a lot of time, and I do think it takes time to heal a broken heart, but it is deception at the end of the day, and it's worth mentioning for that reason. And even any problems you have, it's inviting witchcraft into your life for logistic problems being the problem, and at the end of the day, the root of the problem is the problem that you're thinking about, which should be looked at from a logistic perspective, not a spiritual, not through witchcraft. It's fine to have a spiritual perspective if you feel like in a specific way, but not witchcraft. Next, I'm going to talk about soulmates, twin flames, and karmic partners. This was one that I had to think about because, to be honest with you, I didn't realise I still had some beliefs about them. This was something I never actually properly looked into, besides the way that some people talk about in the mainstream, like, oh, we're soulmates, when they talk about their life partner, which I think is kind of okay if you're saying it loosely with, a grain of salt, but just because it's ingrained into culture. But even that I don't even like. But it's really, when you look deeply into it, something where someone can project a lot of their needs and their wants on another person from a relationship, especially twin flames and soulmates. I thought I had a twin flame at one point, and it took me I took quite a fair amount of time looking into twin flames and what I could do to be in union with my twin flame. I'm not pouring hate on anyone that still believes this, but for me, I feel like it is deception again, and it preys on people where their very real needs and their very real wants are needing to be met, and they project that on another person because they are supposed to be divinely aligned with them, and they might not actually be their life partner. and karmic partners as well, I find can be a big source of stress. Especially, I feel like this just feeds on language barriers and in ethnicity barriers in life. Because for someone that is from a different place to their place they're living, it can make room for narcissistic abuse as well, because they're quote unquote a different race or religion. Not to take away, if you're from a different place to where you live but you're an immigrant, it can be difficult, and you can have some wounds there that you might not even be consciously aware of. So you might just be like, you know, if someone else is the same way, you could look at them as a karmic partner, or is of the nationality or any nationality. You can look at them as a karmic partner from something you might have done in a past life or something. Past lives, again, I think are from they're from parts of, yeah, past lives. I think as well can seem very innocent, especially when they are found on things like YouTube next to things like meditation, which meditation is proven to have beneficial effects on your mind, I think. But some people say it can be demonic as well, and that you're channeling negative energy or whatever. I'm not too sure about that. But when past life stuff comes up as a meditation, and you have to, like, quote unquote regress to a past life, I believe it comes from a place of imagination and not from an actual past life. But I know lots of religions, or some other types of religions, might believe this, but that's not my personal Christian belief. I am currently getting my life back from all this spiritual stuff that's come about in my life through various traumas, through loneliness and lockdown, through nasty toxic breakups and trying to find reasons behind them when really it was mainly narcissistic abuse. And it's taken a great deal of my life from me without me even having any conscious awareness of it. I consider myself a very intelligent person, and I think when this happens, through all the fatalism that comes from it, through all the false names that you find yourself associating with, you slowly let things fall away from your life, until you get to a lesser and lesser value of life. And you overlook so many things in narcissistic people that really shouldn't be the case, and then you are basically in this inevitable place of despair, which logically you would be, to think, why am I in this place of overwhelming despair? Well, not overwhelming despair, but despair at times. Even if you're logically functioning, that can even make it worse. So you're like simmering in this you're simmering in this sort of despair, and you're simmering in this despair, and you can start turning to things as coping mechanisms. You can have gambling addictions, you can have shopping addictions, you can have food addictions, you can have things to help you escape from the pain of situations. And it's sin that is done to you. Sin you don't only do yourself, but it's done to you by the devil and by other people. And when this does happen, it just ruins your quality of life. It says in the Bible that sin gives the devil a foothold in your life. So that sin doesn't have to come from you. It can be sin of any person doing it to you as well. So obviously the 7 deadly sins, which I actually did do a video on, to be fair, it's not very good, I wouldn't watch it, it's from ages ago, is I think they're like greed, wrath, envy, gluttony, I can't remember, something like that. There's like the 7 deadly sins, and then there's virtues that come from them. And it can be that you've engaged in some of these things consciously or unconsciously. I think obviously if you're doing it yourself, it can be an unconscious process that you're not actually aware of. But also when other people do this to you, it also gives the devil a foothold, which is why when people go to therapy and they figure out the ill doings that people have done to them, or that, is it that the word, that ill doings, if sort of someone's been sinning against you or doing things to destroy you as a person through God, it makes you feel a lot better when you heal those wounds, because the devil is allowed in through those wounds and that sin. and yeah, that is just never good. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say. Hope this was helpful for someone. Thanks for listening. Bye.